In this video, we are going to talk about what happened on Kyrgyz-Tajik border. You are watching Bashtan Bashta. On the 3rd of February 2021, for some reason, Prime Minister Ulugbek Maripov stated that Kyrgyzstan gave away the water intake to Tajikistan.
4 күн су сактагычына келген каналдын башындагы тилекке каршы алдырып турбуз. Мен бул боюнча дагы тактадым. Бул жерде стратегиялык маселелер бар.
Later, at the end of March, Kamchibek Tashev offered other solutions for solving the problems with Vorukh enclave, which is to define the borders and open a path that would bypass Aksay village or to exchange the enclave to other areas in Batken region.
Анклав Vorukh боюнча биз Тажикстанга өзүбүздүн эки өзүбүздүн сунушубузду бердик. Биринчи сунушубуз ушул анклавды биз ченейбиз, границасын ченеп токтотобуз дагы, бирок анклавка өзүбүздүн территориябыздан пайдалануу үчүн гана чтобы кирип чыгыш үчүн жол беребиз. Экинчи сунушубуз андан дагы катуураак, биз анклав Vorukhtу алмаштырганга даярбыз.
But was this a provocation by Kyrgyz side? Besides the recklessness of these statements, they didn't contain any elements of aggression and were merely an official's view on how to regulate the disputable areas and solve the question of access to resources. However, even these statements cannot justify the full-scale military actions on the part of Tajikistan. We believe that Vorukh undoubtedly belongs to Tajikistan, but we strongly condemn the military aggression by the Tajik military against the innocent citizens of the Kyrgyz Republic. We believe that the leadership of Tajikistan should remain under strong pressure for using the armed forces against the civilian population of Kyrgyzstan. The civil society of Kyrgyzstan is preparing a referral to the prosecutor of International Criminal Court. We believe that the legal assessment will be given to this situation and that an independent investigation by the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court will identify the perpetrators and bring them to justice. So in this video, we want to understand what caused the civil society to appeal to the International Criminal Court.
How did the armed conflict on the Kyrgyz-Tajik border start? The Batken region borders Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. During Soviet times, a number of enclaves and exclaves were created there. The main conflict began in the area of Golovnoy watershed on the territory of Kyrgyzstan. The situation began to heat up a week before the main event. On April 24, the Tajik military abducted and beat 2 citizens of Kyrgyzstan. They were interrogated about the amount of military equipment in the region. On April 25, information was disseminated on the Tajik segment of the internet about the alleged beating of 2 Tajik school children by Kyrgyz border guards. The Tajik service of Radio Free Europe Radio Liberty even mentioned the names of the school children. The Tajik Foreign Ministry sent a note of protest to the ambassador of Kyrgyzstan, but in the end, admitted that the information was fake. On April 28, the conflict escalated. The reason was that the Tajik side began to install CCTV cameras on poles on the territory of the Golovnoy watershed. At the time of the installation of the second camera, the Kyrgyz border guards and police officers who arrived at the scene demanded to suspend the works. At about 12:25, in the village of Khojai Alo, Republic of Tajikistan, a shot was fired, presumably from a hunting rifle. At the place of the conflict, about 100 to 150 people gathered from both sides. The confrontation between the citizens turned into throwing stones. At 4 a.m. on April 29, in the village of Koktash, stones were thrown from the Tajik side again, and firearms were used. At 5:45 a.m., shots were fired from the Tajikistan side in the direction of the Kyrgyz military unit located in the village of Koktash. As a result of the shooting, a 30-year-old local resident was admitted to the hospital with a gunshot wound to the eye. At 11 o'clock, due to the tension in 3 village areas, Aksay, Akhtatyr, and Samarkandek, an emergency regime was introduced. On April 29, at about 5 p.m., the Tajik side opened fire on 3 frontier posts, Kapchagay, Mingbulak, Dostuk, as well as on 2 border posts. Further, Tajikistan began a massive shelling of mortars, machine guns, and automatic weapons at the water intake Golovnoy. The Kyrgyz side abstained from using such weapons until much later. The fighting continued on the territory of Kyrgyzstan. The Tajik side burned down houses, shops, restaurants, a school, and a frontier post in several Kyrgyz villages. Tajikistan began to pull its military equipment to the conflict zone. A shootout began in the Leylek region. Helicopters of the Tajik side were also seen in the villages of Koktash and Samarkandek. Armed conflict on the Kyrgyz-Tajik border. Situation review for April 30 and May 1st. Despite agreements, at night in the village of Maksat, Tajik side began to rob and burn houses. On April 30, 2 meetings were held between representatives of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan. The parties agreed on a ceasefire, but despite this, the Tajik side continued to fire in the Leylek region. On the way to the village of Koktash, Batken region, cars were fired on. There were more than 10 Kyrgyz citizens. Local authorities told Azatlık that the village of Kızılbel, Dostuk, Koktash, Üçdübü, Kokderek, and Aksay in the Batken region were affected. Of these, the village of Kokderek was completely destroyed. 17 houses burned down. It was established that 10 houses in Aksay and 1 house in the village of Dostuk burned down. In the evening, a conversation took place between the presidents of Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. The parties agreed on a peaceful solution to the conflict and the withdrawal of troops. Despite these agreements, the Tajiks didn't withdraw their troops from the territory of Kyrgyzstan. On the morning of May 1st, Tajik servicemen opened fire on residential buildings and citizens of the Kyrgyz Republic in the Arka area of the Leylek district of the Batken region. The video shows how the Tajik flag is hoisted at the entrance to the Kyrgyz village, and the person filming the scene happily laughs about it. This land has never been disputed. It is a Kyrgyz village. The Tajik side completely blocked the road in the Turtkocho area. The path to the Leylek region is cut off. Humanitarian aid for the victims cannot be delivered. At 3 p.m. on May 1st, 27,358 people were evacuated in the Batken region, Kyrgyzstan. In total, 33 people died as a result of the border conflict. 3 of them were military personnel, and 27 civilians were citizens of Kyrgyzstan. 3 more people are being identified. May 1st and 2nd are declared days of mourning in Kyrgyzstan. The international human rights organization Human Rights Watch released a statement in which it indicated that, quote, images circulating on social media since Thursday and seen by Human Rights Watch show armed Tajiks in civilian clothing walking around, burning houses, and a bulldozer destroying the outer wall of a compound in line of sight of Tajik soldiers. Both videos were reportedly filmed inside Kyrgyzstan. The burning of scores of houses and the reported use of explosive weapons with wide area effects should prompt Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan to immediately investigate civilian casualties and the destruction of civilian property, with a view to holding those responsible for serious laws of war violations to account and provide appropriate remedies to civilians.
The 1st and 2nd of May are declared to be the days of national mourning for victims of the conflict. 173 Kyrgyz citizens were injured, 121 of them civilians, 31 military, and 1 medical officer. Information on the remaining victims is being clarified. As of May 2nd, the total number of displaced residents is 58,261. Of this, 52,329 are women and children. On the 1st of May, at 3 p.m. Bishkek time, Tajik military left the Kyrgyz villages. It was specified that they were located on disputable land in the area of nominal borderline. The situation on the border is characterized as being relatively stable. Based on negotiations between the heads of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, on the 1st of May, a working meeting was held between the representatives of Ministries of Defense of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan at checkpoints Kızılbel, Kyrgyzstan, and Gulistan, Tajikistan. As a result of the meeting, decision to cease fire in all areas, withdraw the troops, and create a number of joint groups that will start their work from 8 a.m. Kyrgyzstan time from the 2nd of May were made. After the meeting, Tajikistanis released Murzabek Jumabayev, the head of International Village, and other 10 Kyrgyzstanis. Although before that, Tajikistan's officials stated they didn't take anyone hostage. The length of the border between Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan is 970 kilometers, and only 519 kilometers are delimited and demarcated. There are 70 disputed sites where conflicts between local people happen because of water, pastures, and land issues. Ordinary people of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan had to suffer because officials of our countries have not been solving these problems for many years. Apparently, the instability on the border can be beneficial to third parties. However, we all know about the contraband and drug trafficking that goes through both of the countries. And only the people of both countries can solve this problem by choosing a path of transparency and elimination of corruption and crime in our good neighborly countries. And so, we call everybody for peace.